We begin our journey in the soft twilight of human history, where the known and the unknown dance in delicate balance. Imagine the quiet corridors of time stretching endlessly, filled with echoes of voices long gone, their words carried in whispers across centuries. In this shadowed realm, history is not a single, unbroken narrative but a mosaic of stories, some celebrated, some forgotten, and others deliberately hidden. These hidden tales, preserved in delicate scrolls, fragile parchments, and weathered tomes, hold secrets that challenge the very foundation of what we believe we know. As we close our eyes and allow the imagination to drift, the air becomes thick with the scent of aged paper and ink, a subtle reminder that knowledge, once written, carries a weight that transcends generations. From the grand halls of ancient libraries to the quiet corners of secluded monasteries, humanity has always sought to record its understanding of the world. Yet, for every book that survived the passage of time, countless others were lost, destroyed, or suppressed. In some cases, these losses were accidental, victims of fire, flood, or decay. In others, the disappearance of knowledge was intentional, guided by fear, politics, or the desire to control what could be known. There is a haunting beauty in the notion that even as civilizations rise and fall, the shadows of their wisdom linger, waiting to be rediscovered. The idea that some truths were too dangerous, too profound, or too unsettling for the world to handle gives these lost works an aura of quiet power, an almost sacred mystery that beckons to the curious mind. As we step further into this realm of forgotten knowledge, we begin to sense a pattern in the way history conceals itself. There is a rhythm to the secrets of the past, a cadence that moves between revelation and concealment. Some texts were hidden simply because their contents were misunderstood, too advanced for their time, or threatening to established authority. Others were carefully guarded, passed from one custodian to another, whispered among a select few who understood that knowledge carries responsibility as well as power. And still, some writings vanished entirely, leaving only the faintest trace, a charred fragment, a fading ink stain, a marginal note, hinting at a world of understanding that once existed, now obscured by the mists of time. Consider the Library of Alexandria, whose very name has become synonymous with lost knowledge. A place of immense learning, it once housed thousands of scrolls detailing the thoughts, discoveries, and philosophies of countless cultures. Today, its remains exist only in memory and imagination, yet the idea of what it contained continues to stir wonder. The story of its destruction is not just a tale of fire and decay, but a profound meditation on the fragility of human achievement. It reminds us that the preservation of knowledge is never guaranteed and that the treasures of the mind, like the treasures of the earth, are vulnerable to the passage of time. In the quiet contemplation of such loss, we begin to appreciate the gravity of every surviving manuscript, every fragment that has endured against the odds. This journey also invites us to consider the subtle interplay between what is remembered and what is forgotten. History is shaped as much by omission as by inclusion, and the narratives we inherit are often incomplete. Hidden within the margins, in the spaces between recorded events, lie volumes that challenge conventional wisdom. They suggest alternative perspectives, reveal forbidden experiments, or illuminate cultural practices that mainstream accounts prefer to ignore. There is a peculiar enchantment in imagining these secret texts, dusty volumes resting on shelves untouched for centuries, their pages trembling with the potential to alter our understanding of civilization, science, and human consciousness. They are reminders that the past is not fully known, and perhaps never can be, and that curiosity, tempered with reflection, is the key to glimpsing what lies beyond the familiar. As our thoughts drift further into these hidden corridors, we begin to sense the presence of guardians, those who have silently watched over the knowledge deemed too powerful, too controversial, or too dangerous for the general public. These guardians might have been monks in candlelit scriptoria, scholars in shadowed study chambers, or even anonymous scribes whose identities have been lost to history. They protected knowledge not merely for themselves, but for the future, anticipating a time when minds might be ready to receive what was once forbidden. This silent stewardship imbues these lost works with a sacred quality, as if the knowledge itself is waiting patiently for the right moment to be rediscovered. And so, in this gentle beginning, we stand at the threshold of a world both familiar and strange. The known stories of humanity stretch behind us like a well-trodden path, while before us lies a landscape of shadows and whispers. Here, the air hums softly with the resonance of hidden truths, inviting quiet attention, contemplation, and wonder. It is a place where the line between history and mystery blurs, where curiosity is encouraged, and where every fragment of forgotten knowledge carries the weight of centuries. As we move forward, we carry with us a sense of reverence for what has been lost, an eagerness to uncover what remains hidden, and a calm openness to the subtle magic that whispers through the pages of time. In the stillness of this moment, we are reminded that knowledge is never truly gone. Even in the deepest shadows, it leaves traces, fragments that speak to those willing to listen. And as we embark on this journey through secret books and suppressed truths, we do so with gentle patience, allowing the mind to wander, to imagine, and to awaken to the quiet mysteries that have waited silently for centuries. Throughout history, there have always been individuals who stood quietly at the boundaries of knowledge, guardians of secrets too potent, too delicate, or too dangerous for the wider world. These custodians, whether monks in dimly lit monasteries, scholars tucked away in hidden chambers, or secret societies operating in the shadows, understood the delicate balance between revelation and restraint. They recognized that knowledge, like fire, could illuminate or consume, and they dedicated themselves to preserving it with care. Imagine the stillness of a candlelit room, the scent of ancient ink and parchment hanging in the air, as a lone scholar bends over a manuscript, tracing symbols whose meaning has been forgotten by all but the initiated. Here, in these quiet spaces, human curiosity met discipline, creating a sanctuary for wisdom that might otherwise have vanished. These guardians often operated with a subtle awareness that what they protected was not merely information, but a form of power, a force that could reshape understanding, influence societies, or even challenge established authority. In some cases, this power was sought after for its ability to control, to manipulate, or to assert dominance. In others, it was preserved for the noblest of intentions, to pass knowledge to those prepared to receive it, to safeguard the future from error, or to protect truths that might disrupt the fragile equilibrium of their times. They were the invisible custodians of our collective memory, standing at the threshold between what is known and what is hidden. Their work was silent, often unnoticed, yet it has shaped the very contours of human thought across centuries. Consider the libraries of the medieval world, where the survival of ancient texts depended entirely on the vigilance of a few dedicated individuals. In monasteries scattered across Europe and the Middle East, scribes meticulously copied manuscripts by hand, aware that each stroke of ink could preserve an entire philosophy, a sacred ritual, or a revolutionary scientific idea. These were not mechanical tasks performed out of duty alone. They were acts of devotion, acts of faith in the enduring value of knowledge. Outside these sanctuaries, the world often seemed indifferent or even hostile. Wars, plagues, and fires threatened to erase entire collections in a single night. Yet, because of the quiet dedication of these guardians, fragments of the past survived, reaching us across centuries as a testament to the resilience of human thought. Beyond individual custodians, secret societies and clandestine groups played a pivotal role in protecting knowledge that could be considered too radical or dangerous for public awareness. From the mysterious brotherhoods of alchemists in Europe to clandestine philosophical circles in Asia, these organizations operated with strict codes, transmitting knowledge only to those deemed worthy. Their teachings were layered with symbolism, requiring both patience and insight to decipher. ensuring that wisdom was not diluted or misused. To imagine these gatherings is to envision candlelit rooms filled with quiet murmurs, the scratching of quills, and the soft rustle of parchment. In these hidden chambers, the boundary between instruction and initiation blurred, creating a space where knowledge became a sacred inheritance rather than mere information. The role of these guardians extends beyond preservation. They also acted as filters, determining which ideas could be released into the broader world and which should remain concealed. This selectivity often depended on a delicate sense of timing. Some concepts were far too advanced for their era, requiring centuries of intellectual or societal evolution before they could be understood or accepted. Others challenged prevailing power structures or threatened cultural norms, making their public revelation dangerous. In these moments, restraint was as crucial as the act of preservation itself. Knowledge, in the hands of the unprepared, could destabilize communities or incite fear, but in the hands of those ready to understand it, it could ignite revolutions of thought. Even within these guarded spaces, curiosity was never stifled. The very act of seeking knowledge, of uncovering hidden meanings, was celebrated, cultivated, and honored. Apprentices and students were guided with patience, encouraged to read between lines, to observe patterns, and to discover connections invisible to the casual observer. Learning was a journey of both mind and spirit, where every revelation was earned through careful attention and thoughtful reflection. The guardians understood that knowledge was not merely to be consumed. It was to be internalized, respected, and ultimately transmitted with integrity. Their silence, far from being oppressive, was a form of protection, an acknowledgement that wisdom carries a responsibility equal to its power. Yet, even with such dedication, the task of safeguarding knowledge was fraught with peril. Manuscripts were lost to fires, floods, invasions, and political upheavals. Entire libraries were destroyed, and with them, centuries of human understanding. But those who survived, whether by chance or foresight, became beacons, carrying whispers of what once was. Their meticulous records, annotations, and commentaries allowed future generations to reconstruct fragments of thought, ensuring that the past, though scarred, was never entirely erased. There's a quiet poetry in this persistence, a testament to human determination and reverence for the ideas that define us. In reflecting upon these guardians of forbidden knowledge, we see a recurring theme: the tension between secrecy and revelation, between the desire to share and the need to protect. They inhabited the liminal spaces of history, straddling the boundaries between light and shadow, between what the world could accept and what it was not yet ready to embrace. Their legacy is both tangible and intangible. Tangible in the surviving manuscripts, cryptic texts, and meticulously copied scrolls. Intangible in the aura of mystery and reverence that surrounds the very concept of hidden knowledge. These individuals and groups remind us that behind every known fact, there may be a secret narrative, a suppressed insight, or an overlooked truth waiting patiently to be discovered. And so, as we move deeper into the exploration of secret books and suppressed truths, we carry with us the memory of these silent guardians. They invite us into their quiet chambers, urging us to observe, to reflect, and to imagine. In the hush of their preserved spaces, we sense the weight of responsibility and the thrill of discovery. Every page, every fragment, every coded note becomes a bridge connecting past and present, inviting us to journey into the shadows where knowledge waits, untouched yet alive. It is here, in the calm, deliberate stewardship of human thought, that the seeds of mystery are planted, ready to blossom in the minds of those who listen closely, patiently, and with open hearts. The world has always been a keeper of secrets, and perhaps nowhere is this more tangible than in the grand, vanished libraries that once housed the sum of human thought. These repositories of knowledge were not mere collections of books. They were living archives of civilization, carefully curated and meticulously preserved, where every scroll and manuscript carried the weight of ideas, philosophies, and discoveries. Imagine walking through halls lined with towering shelves, the air thick with the scent of aged parchment, the faint rustle of pages, and the soft glow of candlelight illuminating the delicate scripts of scholars long departed. In these spaces, knowledge was not just stored, it was revered, protected, and in some ways alive, whispering to those willing to listen. Yet for every library that survived, countless others were lost to time, leaving behind tantalizing gaps in our understanding and a profound sense of wonder about what might have been. The Library of Alexandria remains perhaps the most famous example, a symbol of both human ambition and the fragility of knowledge. At its height, it was said to contain hundreds of thousands of scrolls, encompassing the entirety of the known world's wisdom, from mathematics and astronomy to medicine, literature, and philosophy. Scholars traveled from distant lands to study within its walls, exchanging ideas in a vibrant intellectual community. Yet, despite its grandeur and importance, this treasure trove of human understanding was destroyed, leaving only fragments and legends in its wake. The mystery surrounding its demise, whether through accidental fire, political conflict, or gradual decay, adds a layer of melancholy to the awe it inspires. Even today, we can only imagine the works that vanished, ideas that might have transformed the course of science, art, and philosophy had they survived. Beyond Alexandria, there are other great centers of learning, equally remarkable, though perhaps less celebrated in popular imagination. In India, the ancient University of Nalanda thrived for centuries, attracting scholars from across Asia. Its libraries held thousands of manuscripts on subjects ranging from medicine and mathematics to cosmology and spiritual philosophy. Similarly, in the Islamic world, institutions like the House of Wisdom in Baghdad served as both libraries and laboratories, where texts from Greece, India, Persia, and beyond were translated, studied, and expanded upon. These centers were bridges between cultures, preserving knowledge that might have otherwise been lost and fostering intellectual exchange across vast regions. Yet, as with Alexandria, time and circumstance were often unkind, leaving only echoes of these once vast repositories. The fate of these lost libraries is both tragic and deeply poetic. Fires, invasions, neglect, and the slow erosion of time claimed countless volumes, many of which were irreplaceable. In some instances, knowledge was deliberately destroyed, considered too dangerous or heretical by those in power. There is a haunting contrast here. On one hand, these libraries were the pinnacle of human creativity and intellectual pursuit. On the other, they were vulnerable to forces beyond their control, fragile reminders that even the most treasured ideas are impermanent. This tension between creation and destruction, light and shadow, forms the core of our fascination with lost knowledge. It compels us to wonder not only what was preserved, but also what was forever erased, leaving only the faintest imprint on the canvas of history. Yet, all is not lost. Even in the absence of complete libraries, fragments endure. Single manuscripts, marginal notes, or copied excerpts that survive the centuries. These remnants serve as portals to worlds otherwise gone, hinting at the richness of thought and imagination that once flourished. Each fragment is a puzzle piece, offering glimpses of philosophies, rituals, scientific observations, or literary works that challenge our understanding of history. There is a quiet magic in imagining these fragments in their original context, how they might have interacted with other texts, what debates they inspired, and how they shaped the minds of those who had access to them. In a sense, every surviving piece is a bridge connecting us to the past, a whisper of what was and a hint of what might yet be rediscovered. The loss of these libraries also reminds us of the delicate relationship between human ambition and impermanence. Building vast collections of knowledge requires vision, resources, and dedication. Yet even the most careful efforts can be undone by forces beyond human control. Floods, fires, political upheaval, and neglect are constant threats, and throughout history, civilizations have risen and fallen, often taking their knowledge with them. This fragility imbues the surviving works with profound significance. They are not merely texts. They are victories against oblivion, testaments to the resilience of human curiosity and the enduring desire to understand, preserve, and share the truths of the world. The concept of lost libraries also carries with it a sense of narrative mystery, a tension between what is known and what is forever hidden. Stories of hidden archives tucked away in secret chambers, monasteries, or private collections have captured the imagination for centuries. Some suggest that certain texts were deliberately concealed to protect dangerous knowledge, to maintain social order, or to preserve spiritual truths for future generations. Others imagine that entire troves of forgotten wisdom lie buried beneath modern cities, lost to the sweep of time, but waiting silently to be uncovered. This interplay between possibility and absence, between reality and legend, gives lost libraries a powerful allure. They are symbols not only of knowledge, but also of the unknowable, inviting curiosity, speculation, and the quiet thrill of imagining what might lie beyond reach. Even today, researchers, historians, and archaeologists continue to uncover traces of these vanished collections. Discoveries in remote monasteries, archaeological digs, and private collections occasionally reveal forgotten manuscripts, revealing new insights into ancient civilizations, philosophies, or scientific practices. Each discovery feels like a soft ripple across time, a reminder that even in loss, there's the potential for rediscovery, for illumination, and for expanding the boundaries of human understanding. These moments are fleeting, yet they connect us intimately with the past, allowing us to walk, if only briefly, alongside the scholars and guardians who once moved quietly through the same corridors of thought. In reflecting on lost libraries, we also encounter a profound meditation on human ambition and the passage of time. They remind us that knowledge is precious, fleeting, and fragile, yet capable of enduring across generations when carefully preserved. They teach patience and reverence, encouraging a quiet curiosity rather than a frantic quest for answers. As we stand at the threshold of this exploration, the vanished libraries beckon us to imagine, to dream, and to listen, to the whispers of knowledge that persist even in absence, to the fragments that speak louder because they are rare, and to the mysteries that remain, patiently waiting for those willing to seek them with open minds and gentle hearts. Through the corridors of history, the grandeur of these lost libraries and the fragments that survive carry a message. Knowledge is both a treasure and a responsibility, delicate yet enduring. They invite us to move softly, to observe carefully, and to consider what truths lie hidden not only in the past, but perhaps in the shadows of our present, waiting to be rediscovered, understood, and cherished. The allure of these vanished repositories is timeless, a quiet call to curiosity, reflection, and wonder that resonates as gently today as it must have centuries ago in those halls of candlelight and ink. Even in the wake of catastrophic loss, fragments of the past endure, delicate remnants of ideas, philosophies, and discoveries that might otherwise have vanished entirely. These surviving manuscripts, marginal notes, and hidden texts are the fragile whispers of human thought, quietly defying the passage of time. Imagine holding a fragment of a centuries-old scroll, its edges worn and ink faded, yet still carrying the weight of knowledge. Every line, every symbol, every subtle annotation hints at worlds once known but now obscured, like shadows glimpsed through a veil. In these fragments, the imagination is invited to wander, to reconstruct the lost libraries, to hear the voices of the scholars who once studied in candlelit halls, and to sense the pulse of curiosity that has always driven humanity to understand the unknown. Some of these remnants are famous in their own mysterious right, captivating scholars, historians, and the curious alike. The Voynich manuscript, with its undeciphered language and enigmatic botanical illustrations, remains a silent riddle, a puzzle that has resisted centuries of analysis. Its pages are filled with a strange, almost otherworldly script, accompanied by drawings that defy easy classification. Here is a text that exists entirely apart from conventional understanding, a work whose meaning is known to no one, yet whose presence speaks powerfully to the enduring allure of hidden knowledge. Similarly, the Gnostic Gospels, long suppressed by Orthodox religious authorities, offer alternative visions of spiritual truths, challenging familiar narratives and inviting readers to see the past through a different lens. These texts are more than curiosities. They are bridges to perspectives that were deliberately obscured, each fragment carrying a profound echo of lost wisdom. Beyond the famous manuscripts, countless less-known fragments survive in obscure corners of the world. Marginalia scribbled by medieval monks, a single sheet tucked inside a larger codex, or a partially burned scroll discovered in an archaeological dig. All these remnants offer glimpses of knowledge thought long gone. In some cases, the fragments contain scientific observations, alchemical formulas, or medical treatments that predate discoveries by centuries. In others, they reveal philosophical musings, spiritual guidance, or poetic insights into the human condition. Each surviving piece is a testament to both the fragility and resilience of human memory, a reminder that even when civilizations crumble, the spark of understanding can endure, waiting patiently to be found again. The tactile quality of these fragments is as compelling as their content. Holding an ancient manuscript, feeling the grain of its parchment, the indentations of quill on paper, and the subtle aroma of aged ink, is to connect intimately with the mind of someone who lived centuries ago. There is a profound meditation in this connection, a bridge between past and present, where time seems to collapse, allowing the listener or reader to share in the curiosity, the wonder, and the reverence that those long-departed custodians felt. Each surviving fragment is a relic, not merely of knowledge, but of devotion, a quiet testament to the human desire to preserve what is precious, even when the world is indifferent or hostile to its survival. Many of these fragments are not complete works, yet their incompleteness adds to their allure. Missing pages, faded symbols, and cryptic annotations encourage the imagination to fill the gaps, to speculate about the broader narrative, and to engage actively with the text. The act of reconstructing meaning from fragments becomes a meditation in itself, a gentle dialogue across time. Scholars might attempt to decipher patterns, while poets and dreamers may simply feel the resonance of the words, letting their meaning unfold intuitively. In this way, fragments are alive. They invite participation, contemplation, and reflection rather than offering easy answers. They are, in essence, the very embodiment of mystery, tantalizing, incomplete, and infinitely evocative. Some fragments reveal the deliberate efforts to obscure knowledge, a protective measure taken by those who understood its potential consequences. Coded symbols, encrypted scripts, and intentionally ambiguous passages suggest that certain truths were meant only for the initiated. These fragments, often overlooked by casual observers, contain layers of meaning that may be revealed only through careful study, insight, or intuition. The subtlety of such preservation is remarkable. Knowledge is hidden in plain sight, yet simultaneously shielded from those unprepared to comprehend it. In these delicate layers, we see the tension between revelation and concealment, between curiosity and caution, and the enduring human understanding that some truths require both patience and discernment to be grasped fully. The survival of fragments also invites reflection on the role of chance and serendipity in preserving history. Fires, floods, wars, and neglect have claimed countless manuscripts, yet somehow pieces endure against the odds. A single surviving scroll may represent centuries of lost scholarship. A lone annotated page may illuminate practices and ideas that were otherwise erased. These fragments remind us that knowledge is not only fragile, but also resilient, capable of bridging centuries and cultures in ways both subtle and profound. They carry with them the echo of lives dedicated to curiosity, the silent testimony of minds that refused to let understanding vanish entirely. Fragments of hidden knowledge are not merely objects of historical interest. They also provoke wonder about the possibilities they represent. What if these remnants contain insights into science, medicine, or philosophy far ahead of their time? What if they reveal spiritual or metaphysical truth suppressed for fear of disruption? In contemplating these questions, we enter a space between imagination and scholarship, a gentle meditation that allows the mind to roam freely across centuries, imagining the worlds these texts once illuminated. It is in this reflective space that the fragments truly come alive, not merely as relics of the past, but as invitations to explore the uncharted territories of thought and possibility. In the quiet presence of these surviving manuscripts, one feels a profound connection to the past. They speak softly, offering glimpses of wisdom and creativity, yet they require patience, attention, and openness. The act of listening to their whispers is an act of reverence, a meditation on the impermanence of human endeavor, and an acknowledgement of the beauty and fragility of knowledge itself. Each fragment, no matter how small or incomplete, is a thread in the vast tapestry of history, weaving together the known and the hidden, the light and the shadow. They are reminders that while much has been lost, there is always something that endures, waiting for those who seek it with curiosity and care. And so, as we linger among these surviving fragments, we are invited to imagine the libraries that once contained them, the scholars who studied them, and the secrets they held. Each manuscript, note, or scrap of parchment is a quiet beacon, a testament to the resilience of human thought and the enduring allure of hidden knowledge. They are fragments of a larger story, fragments that speak across time, offering both mystery and illumination, and reminding us that even in absence, the past continues to whisper, to teach, and to inspire. Throughout the unfolding of human history, knowledge has never been entirely free. For every discovery celebrated, for every book cherished, there have been forces intent on silencing, restricting, or erasing what was deemed dangerous, heretical, or unsettling. Censorship and suppression are as old as civilization itself, woven into the fabric of societies seeking to control not just the actions, but the thoughts of their people. In medieval Europe, entire texts were condemned as heretical, burned in public squares to prevent their ideas from spreading. In other times and places, scientific findings were hidden, dismissed, or ridiculed because they challenged established doctrine, questioned authority, or threatened prevailing worldviews. There is a haunting rhythm to these acts. With each attempt to suppress knowledge, curiosity flickers quietly in the shadows, refusing to be extinguished. Book burnings serve as a stark symbol of this tension between curiosity and control. Across centuries, volumes of thought and imagination have been reduced to ash, their contents lost to the flames of fear or ideology. The destruction of the Library of Alexandria is perhaps the most famous example, yet countless smaller libraries, private collections, and monastic archives suffered similar fates. In many cases, these acts were deliberate, carried out by those in power who understood that knowledge holds influence. Ideas about the natural world, spirituality, medicine, or philosophy could threaten hierarchies, unsettle belief systems, or challenge political authority. The loss was not merely physical. It was cultural, intellectual, and spiritual, leaving voids in our collective memory that can never be fully restored. Suppression also took subtler forms. Texts were sometimes censored, altered, or hidden, leaving traces of what was once known while concealing the full picture. Marginal notes might be removed, chapters erased, or controversial passages rewritten to conform to prevailing expectations. In this way, knowledge was not entirely destroyed, but distorted, reshaped by fear and control. There is a quiet tragedy in these interventions. ideas that might have inspired new discoveries, philosophies, or ways of living were confined, carefully edited to prevent disruption. And yet, even in this restraint, the human impulse to preserve and transmit knowledge often found a way to endure, leaving behind hints, fragments, or coded messages for those willing to look closely and think critically. Scientific truths have frequently borne the brunt of suppression. The early work of astronomers, physicians, and natural philosophers often faced skepticism, hostility, or outright prohibition because it contradicted the accepted worldview. Figures like Galileo Galilei were vilified not merely for their discoveries, but for the threat these discoveries posed to entrenched authority. In some cases, manuscripts detailing revolutionary medical treatments or mechanical inventions were hidden away, circulated only among trusted individuals, or recorded in secret code to prevent misuse or persecution. The tension between the desire to illuminate and the fear of the consequences of revelation is a recurring theme in history, a reminder that the path of knowledge is rarely straightforward, and that understanding is often delayed by social, cultural, or political barriers. Censorship has also extended into realms of philosophy and spirituality. Texts exploring alternative interpretations of religious teachings, mystical practices, or esoteric knowledge were frequently suppressed because they challenged orthodoxy or threatened institutional control. The Gnostic Gospels, for example, offer perspectives that diverge from canonical teachings, yet they were hidden for centuries, their contents known only to small, secretive communities. Similarly, mystical writings, alchemical texts, and philosophical treatises were often circulated quietly, shared among a select few who could decipher their meaning and appreciate their subtleties. The suppression of these works was not merely an attack on ideas, but a containment of possibility, an attempt to shape the intellectual and spiritual landscape by limiting access to certain ways of knowing. Yet, even in the face of such systematic efforts to control knowledge, human curiosity persists. Scholars, scribes, and ordinary individuals found ways to preserve, copy, and transmit ideas despite the risk. Hidden manuscripts, encoded texts, and clandestine study became strategies of resistance, subtle acts of defiance that ensured knowledge survived. In this quiet struggle between suppression and preservation, there is a deep and almost meditative beauty. It reminds us that the pursuit of understanding is resilient, often flourishing in secrecy before it emerges into the light, and that even the smallest fragment of preserved knowledge can have profound influence centuries later. There is a paradox inherent in the act of suppression. The very attempt to hide knowledge often enhances its allure. Forbidden texts acquire an almost magnetic quality, drawing curiosity precisely because they are restricted. Stories of censored books, suppressed discoveries, and concealed truths capture the imagination, compelling future generations to seek them out. The mystery created by absence or erasure stimulates the mind, encouraging exploration and interpretation. In this way, suppression inadvertently ensures that the ideas it seeks to bury remain alive, whispered across time in fragments, anecdotes, and the occasional surviving manuscript. Reflecting on censorship and suppression also invites contemplation on the moral dimensions of knowledge. Throughout history, those who held power have decided what should be known and what should remain hidden, often based on fear, control, or the perceived readiness of society to receive certain truths. At the same time, there's the quiet recognition that some truths, in the wrong hands, could indeed be harmful. This delicate balance between curiosity, responsibility, and restraint is a recurring theme in the history of hidden knowledge. It encourages us to approach the past with both reverence and critical thought, acknowledging the fragility of human understanding while appreciating the courage of those who preserved it. In the stillness of reflection, we come to see that the suppression of knowledge is not only a story of loss, but also a testament to human resilience. For every idea burned, altered, or hidden, there were those who found ways to preserve it, who copied, memorized, or coded it for future discovery. These quiet acts of stewardship are the reason fragments survive, why secret manuscripts still exist in the corners of the world, and why whispers of lost wisdom continue to reach us today. It is in these efforts, carried out in shadows and silence, that the enduring allure of hidden knowledge is born. A tension between light and dark, revelation and concealment, curiosity and caution. And so, as we contemplate the centuries of censorship and suppression, we begin to perceive a pattern. The history of knowledge is not linear, but layered, marked by acts of destruction and preservation, secrecy and revelation. Every suppressed text, every burned manuscript, every hidden treatise carries a story of human effort, fear, and hope. They are reminders that knowledge is precious and fragile, yet capable of enduring across generations when tended with care. In this quiet awareness, we are invited to reflect on our own relationship with knowledge, to honor the fragments that have survived, and to remain open to the subtle whispers of truths that continue to echo through time. Even as knowledge has been suppressed, lost, or hidden, some truths have a remarkable way of lingering, quietly enduring in plain sight. They do not always wait in grand libraries or secret vaults. Sometimes they rest unobtrusively in everyday objects, in marginal notes, in the folds of seemingly ordinary texts. It is as if history itself has a sense of subtle humor, scattering fragments of forbidden knowledge in places where only the attentive, the patient, or the curious might notice. A single symbol in a manuscript, a repeated pattern in a drawing, or an unusual footnote can carry the weight of centuries of hidden meaning. These remnants whisper of worlds we might not yet understand, waiting for minds willing to pause, observe, and listen. This subtle persistence of knowledge challenges our assumptions about visibility and accessibility. Often, the most extraordinary ideas are concealed beneath layers of familiarity, disguised as mundane details. A philosophical insight might be buried in the commentary of a seemingly trivial text, a scientific observation hidden in the margins of a theological treatise, a coded message tucked within a poetic stanza. The ordinary, in these moments, becomes extraordinary, inviting careful attention and reflection. It is in this quiet revelation that the human imagination is most engaged, gently nudged to question what is known, what is assumed, and what may be overlooked. History, in its selective memory, has preserved certain truths while leaving others obscured, and in doing so, it encourages a form of discovery that is both reflective and intuitive. To seek hidden knowledge is not always to uncover it through rigorous methods alone. It is to cultivate patience, to read slowly, to notice patterns, and to embrace ambiguity. This is the delicate art of listening to what remains unspoken, of understanding the weight of absence as much as the presence of text. In this practice, the mind learns to see the connections between fragments, to interpret shadows, and to sense the faint resonance of ideas that have survived against the odds. There is a profound intimacy in encountering secrets hidden in plain sight. Unlike texts carefully guarded by custodians or cloaked in cryptic codes, these subtle truths exist for anyone willing to perceive them. Yet, perceiving them requires a kind of mindfulness that modern life rarely encourages, a willingness to slow down, to linger over details, and to entertain possibilities beyond the immediately apparent. It is a quiet meditation, a dialogue across time between the seeker and the past, where meaning is not imposed but gently revealed. In this space, history feels alive, responsive, and layered, offering glimpses of hidden wisdom to those willing to look beyond the obvious. These hidden truths often carry a dual nature. They are both accessible and elusive, familiar yet strange. A text may appear mundane at first glance, only to reveal its significance upon closer inspection. A drawing may seem decorative until patterns emerge that hint at complex knowledge or obscure understanding. Symbols, allegories, and metaphors become vessels for wisdom that has survived centuries, waiting for insight to awaken them. The ordinary becomes a threshold to the extraordinary, inviting us to reconsider the boundaries between what is known and what remains concealed, between light and shadow, presence and absence. In contemplating these secrets, one becomes aware of the layered nature of history itself. Knowledge is rarely straightforward. It is preserved, distorted, hidden, and rediscovered in cycles that span generations. The faint traces left in plain sight remind us that even when truth seems lost, it often lingers in subtle, almost imperceptible forms, awaiting the patient and curious to notice. This is the delicate rhythm of discovery, a gentle unfolding, a quiet invitation to engage with history not as a fixed narrative, but as a living, breathing continuum of possibility. And so, as we pause in this quiet space, we recognize that the journey into hidden knowledge does not always demand grand revelations or dramatic discoveries. Sometimes it is the small, subtle, and overlooked details that carry the greatest significance. These whispers, fragments, and hidden truths connect seamlessly to the mystical, esoteric, and unconventional knowledge we are about to explore. They prepare the mind for the subtle mysteries of philosophy, spirituality, and symbolism that lie ahead, encouraging a reflective and open-hearted approach. In this gentle transition, we sense that knowledge is not merely something to be possessed. It is something to be attuned to, something that requires patience, observation, and the quiet willingness to see beyond the obvious. As our attention moves forward, we carry with us the awareness that secrets do not always hide in darkness. Sometimes, they shine quietly in the spaces we least expect. It is in these spaces between the lines, within the margins, and in the subtle patterns of thought that the past speaks most softly, yet most insistently, to those who listen. These hidden truths in plain sight serve as an invitation to the deeper mysteries, bridging the tangible fragments of suppressed knowledge with the mystical, symbolic, and esoteric realms we are about to explore. Beyond the fragments of suppressed knowledge and the whispers of hidden texts lies a realm that has always fascinated humanity: the mystical and the esoteric. These are the ideas and practices that dwell at the borders of ordinary understanding, where symbols carry deeper meanings, rituals encode wisdom, and philosophy intertwines with spirituality. Unlike the empirical knowledge of science or the historical records of literature, esoteric knowledge often requires intuition, contemplation, and careful interpretation. It is a language of shadows, of allegory and metaphor, a way of speaking that invites the seeker to look inward even as they explore the outer world. To engage with these teachings is to enter a delicate dance between light and dark, the known and the unknown, reason and mystery. Throughout history, secret knowledge has been preserved in ways that are subtle and symbolic, often hidden within art, architecture, and literature. Temples, cathedrals, and sacred sites frequently contain encoded messages, geometric patterns, and architectural alignments designed to convey profound truths to those attuned to perceive them. Ancient texts, from the Hermetic corpus of Egypt to the mystical Kabbalistic writings of medieval Europe, speak in layers of meaning, requiring not only literacy, but spiritual and intellectual discernment. In these works, every word, every image, every number may serve as a key to understanding the underlying truths that the authors sought to protect, teaching that wisdom is as much a journey of perception as it is of knowledge. Alchemy offers a striking example of this blending of knowledge and mystery. Often dismissed by modern thought as mere proto-chemistry or fanciful experimentation, alchemy was deeply symbolic, representing the transformation not just of materials but of consciousness. The alchemist's quest to transmute base metals into gold parallels an inner journey of refinement, seeking the hidden essence within the self. Symbols, allegories, and obscure instructions were deliberately used to conceal these truths from the uninitiated, ensuring that only those ready to comprehend could benefit from them. In this way, the esoteric traditions remind us that knowledge, particularly that which challenges perception, carries a responsibility, and that revelation often comes not through force, but through patient insight. Mystical traditions around the world share a common thread: the use of secrecy to cultivate understanding. In the East, practices such as Tantra, Taoist alchemy, and Buddhist esotericism encode profound insights about energy, consciousness, and the cosmos. In the West, Hermeticism, Gnosticism, and Rosicrucianism carry parallel teachings, often expressed in symbolic texts, meditative practices, and hidden rituals. Across cultures and continents, there is a recognition that certain truths cannot be taught openly without distortion, and that their transmission requires careful guidance, reflection, and readiness on the part of the learner. This universality suggests that the esoteric is not merely a product of culture, but a reflection of the deeper rhythms of human understanding, waiting to be accessed when the seeker is prepared. The preservation of esoteric knowledge was often intertwined with secrecy and careful discretion. Hidden libraries, private collections, and secret societies acted as guardians, ensuring that teachings were not misinterpreted or misused. Manuscripts were often written in cryptic language, with illustrations, symbols, and codes that could conceal multiple layers of meaning. Learning required dedication, patience, and careful study. To decode these texts is to enter into a dialogue across centuries with minds deeply attuned to both the material and spiritual worlds. Each layer uncovered is a step into the subtle architecture of human thought, an exploration of the boundaries where philosophy meets imagination, where history meets mystery, and where knowledge becomes experience. Many mystical traditions emphasize the relationship between microcosm and macrocosm, the idea that understanding the self provides insight into the universe, and that the universe can illuminate the hidden dimensions of the self. This principle recurs across alchemy, Kabbalah, Hermeticism, and Eastern esotericism. Symbols, numbers, and correspondences are tools that guide reflection, encouraging the seeker to perceive connections that are invisible to the untrained eye. In these teachings, the act of understanding is inseparable from the act of transformation, a gentle reminder that hidden knowledge is not only about accumulation of facts, but about the cultivation of perception, awareness, and intuition. The allure of esoteric knowledge is heightened by its inaccessibility. Part of its power lies in the sense that it is reserved for those willing to observe, meditate, and reflect deeply. It is not something to be grasped quickly or superficially. It unfolds gradually, like a slow dawn illuminating hidden landscapes. This pacing resonates particularly well in a contemplative or nighttime setting, where quiet reflection allows the mind to absorb subtle patterns, contemplate hidden connections, and engage with ideas in a more intuitive and meditative manner. The esoteric encourages the gentle unfolding of thought, teaching patience, observation, and the art of attentive perception. Symbols play a crucial role in bridging the gap between the visible and the invisible, the known and the hidden. In mystical texts and sacred art, shapes, patterns, colors, and arrangements often encode meanings that transcend literal description. Geometric forms, mandalas, and sacred numbers guide the mind toward understanding that cannot be captured in words alone. Each symbol becomes a key, unlocking insights about the universe, human consciousness, and the nature of reality. In this sense, esoteric knowledge is less about imparting facts and more about guiding perception, inviting the seeker to participate actively in the unfolding of wisdom rather than passively consuming it. Across time and cultures, the guardianship of mystical knowledge has served both protective and pedagogical purposes. By restricting access to those prepared to engage responsibly, these traditions ensured that the profound insights embedded within their teachings were not trivialized, misused, or misunderstood. This careful stewardship demonstrates a deep understanding of the power of knowledge, that it carries consequences, responsibilities, and the potential to transform both perception and society. The esoteric is thus both protective and expansive, inviting curiosity while safeguarding the integrity of its insights. In contemplating these mystical and esoteric traditions, we begin to see patterns that echo across time. A commitment to preserving hidden knowledge, an emphasis on layered understanding, and a recognition of the delicate balance between revelation and restraint. These principles offer a bridge between the fragments of lost libraries, the suppressed manuscripts, and the quiet truths hidden in plain sight. They remind us that knowledge is not merely information, but an experience, a journey, and a subtle dialogue between past and present, teacher and seeker, visible and invisible. And so, as we linger in this space of esoteric exploration, we are invited to move gently through the hidden corridors of thought, to observe patterns, reflect deeply, and engage with ideas that have persisted quietly across centuries. Here, knowledge is alive not only in what is written, but in what is felt, intuited, and experienced. The mystical and esoteric traditions form a bridge between the shadows of suppressed knowledge and the illumination of understanding, offering both mystery and insight, curiosity and contemplation, as we continue our journey through the secret books and hidden truths that have shaped human thought. Even as mystical and esoteric traditions flourished in quiet chambers and secretive spaces, other forms of knowledge emerged that were considered dangerous, controversial, or threatening to the prevailing order. These were the forbidden discoveries, the ideas that dared to challenge conventional wisdom, question established authority, or reveal truths that society was not yet ready to embrace. Across centuries, countless thinkers, inventors, and scholars stumbled upon insights that threatened to upend familiar narratives, whether in science, philosophy, medicine, or spirituality. Their findings were often met with skepticism, ridicule, or outright persecution, forcing many to hide their work, circulated in secret, or encoded in ways that only the initiated could understand. There is a quiet tension in this history, knowledge as both illumination and threat, a duality that has guided the unfolding of human understanding through shadow and light. The history of forbidden knowledge is strewn with tales of suppression and survival. Consider early scientific discoveries, which sometimes challenged deeply held religious or political beliefs. Figures like Galileo Galilei, whose observations of the heavens contradicted orthodox teachings, faced censure and house arrest. His discoveries, however, endured, quietly recorded and later celebrated as milestones in the understanding of the cosmos. Similarly, early anatomists and physicians often faced accusations of sacrilege or moral impropriety for dissecting human bodies, yet their work laid the foundations for modern medicine. These forbidden discoveries remind us that knowledge is rarely neutral. It carries power, and those who seek it often navigate the delicate boundary between illumination and danger. Some forbidden ideas were philosophical, challenging not only scientific assumptions but also social and ethical structures. Thinkers like Giordano Bruno, who explored the infinite universe and questioned the rigidity of dogma, paid with their lives for the courage to think differently. Their work, preserved in fragments and retellings, invites us to consider the cost of insight and the resilience required to pursue truth in the face of opposition. Forbidden discoveries are often more than intellectual pursuits. They are acts of courage, reflections of the human drive to understand, question, and imagine beyond the limits imposed by authority or convention. In this sense, they are both historical and profoundly personal, echoing the inner journey of curiosity, risk, and quiet defiance. In some cases, forbidden knowledge was practical, offering techniques or insights that could alter the balance of power. Alchemical formulas, early mechanical designs, medicinal preparations, and advanced astronomical observations were sometimes restricted, circulated only among trusted circles. These discoveries were not merely theoretical. They had the potential to affect daily life, political authority, or spiritual practices. Their concealment reflects an understanding that knowledge carries consequences and that the timing, context, and readiness of the audience determine whether revelation is beneficial or dangerous. The tension between the potential for enlightenment and the risk of misuse is a constant thread in the history of controversial ideas. Even ideas that were eventually accepted as truth were once forbidden, dismissed, or ridiculed. The discovery of new planets, the germ theory of disease, and early understandings of electricity were initially met with resistance. These episodes reveal the fragile nature of perception and the social construction of truth. What is considered radical or dangerous in one era may become the foundation of conventional knowledge in the next. Forbidden discoveries, then, are not merely curiosities. They are milestones in the evolution of thought, markers of how human understanding gradually expands through friction, debate, and careful observation. They remind us that the history of knowledge is not a straight path, but a winding journey through opposition, concealment, and eventual illumination. The preservation of these controversial ideas often required ingenuity. Manuscripts were encoded, circulated privately, or hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment or the right audience. Scholars employed subtle symbolism, cryptic language, and layered metaphors to protect their work, ensuring that only those capable of interpreting it could benefit. In doing so, forbidden knowledge became intertwined with the esoteric, blending secrecy with insight. It is a quiet, deliberate preservation that speaks to both caution and reverence, a recognition that truth, while powerful, is also fragile and vulnerable to misunderstanding or abuse. Forbidden discoveries also underscore the relationship between knowledge and morality. Throughout history, authorities have determined what is acceptable to know, often guided by fear, control, or social convention. Yet, the courage to explore, experiment, and document the world despite these restrictions demonstrates the resilience of human curiosity. Each hidden formula, each coded text, each suppressed manuscript represents not just a fragment of knowledge, but a testament to the unyielding desire to understand the unknown. These acts of intellectual courage illuminate the human spirit, revealing that curiosity, even when constrained, finds a way to endure, survive, and inspire future generations. The allure of forbidden knowledge lies not only in its content, but also in the stories it tells about human courage, secrecy, and discovery. To study these ideas is to step into the minds of those who risked everything for understanding, to sense the quiet tension of secrecy and revelation, and to appreciate the delicate balance between what can be revealed and what must remain hidden. Forbidden discoveries are thus both a window into the past and a mirror reflecting our own engagement with curiosity, risk, and the pursuit of truth. They invite reflection on the responsibilities inherent in knowledge and the quiet, patient perseverance required to preserve, understand, and share it. Even today, the echoes of forbidden discoveries resonate. Modern scholars continue to uncover manuscripts, annotations, and experiments that challenge prevailing narratives or reveal insights previously suppressed. Archaeologists, historians, and scientists work quietly, piecing together fragments that hint at ideas long obscured. These discoveries are reminders that knowledge is rarely lost entirely. It endures in fragments, waiting to be rediscovered by those prepared to receive it. They carry with them a sense of suspense, wonder, and reverence, emphasizing that the pursuit of understanding is as much about timing, patience, and perception as it is about intellect. As we reflect on forbidden discoveries, we sense a delicate interplay between curiosity and caution, revelation and concealment, risk and reward. These ideas remind us that knowledge is not merely a commodity to be possessed. It is a living, evolving force that requires discernment, respect, and humility. The stories of those who preserved, discovered, or hid controversial ideas reveal a continuous thread of human perseverance, illuminating the shadowed corners of history where understanding has been quietly nurtured. And so, in contemplating forbidden discoveries, we are invited to linger at the edge of history, to consider what truths were once concealed, and to sense the thrill of curiosity tempered by patience. These discoveries bridge the tangible and the mysterious, connecting the fragments of hidden knowledge, the esoteric traditions, and the whispers of forbidden texts into a continuous journey. They remind us that understanding is often a subtle, patient pursuit, unfolding across centuries, waiting for those willing to explore with reverence, quiet attention, and a mind open to the unexpected. Throughout history, the survival of hidden, forbidden, and esoteric knowledge has often depended not on institutions, but on individuals, quiet custodians, devoted scholars, and secret keepers who understood the fragility of wisdom and the weight of responsibility that comes with it. These figures, often anonymous or obscured by time, dedicated themselves to the careful preservation of ideas that might otherwise have vanished. They copied manuscripts by candlelight, encoded texts in subtle ciphers, and transported knowledge across lands and generations, always aware that a single misstep could lead to irretrievable loss. Their work was not motivated by fame or recognition. It was a deeply spiritual and intellectual commitment, a recognition that knowledge is a living entity, delicate and in need of protection. Monks in medieval monasteries provide one striking example. In scriptoriums illuminated by the faint glow of oil lamps, they meticulously transcribed sacred texts, philosophical treatises, and scientific observations, often working for years on a single volume. Their dedication was both practical and spiritual. By preserving knowledge, they honored the minds and hands of those who came before them, while simultaneously safeguarding the future of learning. Many of these texts contained ideas that might have been considered heretical or dangerous outside the walls of the monastery. Yet, the quiet vigilance of these custodians ensured that wisdom endured, passing through centuries even when the world around them was consumed by war, upheaval, or neglect. Beyond religious institutions, there were also scholars, philosophers, and travelers who took on the role of secret keepers. Some traveled great distances, carrying manuscripts across deserts, mountains, and seas, ensuring that knowledge survived political upheaval, natural disaster, and cultural destruction. Others acted as intermediaries, translating and copying texts from one language to another, bridging cultural divides, and preserving the intellectual legacy of multiple civilizations. Their work often required both ingenuity and courage, as forbidden ideas could bring suspicion, persecution, or worse. And yet, they persevered, motivated by the understanding that the flame of knowledge must be passed on, even in the face of adversity. Secret societies and esoteric orders also played a role in safeguarding hidden knowledge. From the alchemists of Renaissance Europe to mystical fraternities and philosophical circles, these groups cultivated environments where forbidden and esoteric ideas could be studied, debated, and preserved away from prying eyes. Their teachings often employed symbols, coded language, and ritual to ensure that only those ready to understand could access the deeper meanings. This method of preservation was not secrecy for secrecy's sake. It was a recognition that some truths required careful handling, a deliberate cultivation of both curiosity and discernment. Through these networks, knowledge survived in a form that was both protected and alive, ready to be unlocked by those who approached it with patience, humility, and reverence. Many of these keepers understood that knowledge is not only fragile, but transformative. They recognized that ideas, once revealed, have the power to change perception, alter society, and shift the course of history. It was this awareness that shaped their caution, guiding them to protect and transmit wisdom responsibly. Some left behind extensive notes, commentaries, or marginalia, hinting at broader truths without fully revealing them, allowing future generations to engage in interpretation and discovery. Others took the knowledge with them, committing it to memory, carrying it silently through life, and passing it on orally when the time was right. In both cases, the role of the secret keeper was one of delicate balance between revelation and concealment, preservation and transformation. The lives of these custodians were often quiet, marked by long hours of contemplation, study, and meticulous work. They were rarely celebrated in their own time, their labor hidden from public view, yet their impact resonates across centuries. A single copied manuscript, a coded text, or a carefully safeguarded formula could influence generations, guiding scholars, scientists, and mystics long after the original keeper had passed. In this way, the act of preservation becomes a form of quiet heroism, a patient, unassuming devotion to the continuity of understanding and to the belief that knowledge, once nurtured, can endure beyond the turbulence of time. Even in the modern era, the role of secret keepers continues, though it has evolved. Archivists, historians, and scholars work in quiet rooms, examining fragile manuscripts, deciphering coded texts, and cataloging discoveries that might otherwise fade into obscurity. Digital preservation has added new dimensions to this role, yet the core principle remains the same. Knowledge must be handled with care, curiosity tempered by respect, and understanding transmitted responsibly. These modern custodians inherit a legacy that stretches back centuries, a lineage of quiet dedication to the survival of ideas, bridging past and present with subtle grace. The mystique of the secret keeper is enhanced by the tension between visibility and invisibility. Much of their work is deliberately unnoticed, leaving behind only traces, hints, or fragments for those who are attuned to perceive them. In this subtlety lies the beauty of their contribution. Knowledge survives not through spectacle, but through quiet vigilance, patiently waiting for minds prepared to engage with it fully. Each preserved manuscript, annotated text, or encoded formula is a testament to the skill, foresight, and care of these custodians, and to the enduring interplay between secrecy and revelation that shapes human understanding. Reflecting on these figures also invites contemplation of the ethical dimensions of knowledge preservation. The act of safeguarding ideas often involves difficult choices: what to reveal, what to conceal, and when to share or withhold. Throughout history, secret keepers have navigated these moral complexities, guided by intuition, wisdom, and an understanding of the potential consequences of disclosure. In their hands, knowledge is treated not as a commodity or a weapon, but as a living, delicate force that requires patience, respect, and discernment. This perspective challenges modern assumptions about access and transparency, reminding us that the careful stewardship of information can be as important as its discovery. In contemplating the secret keepers of history, we are invited into a quiet meditation on continuity, resilience, and the delicate threads that connect past and present. Their work reminds us that knowledge is rarely a linear inheritance, is fragile, layered, and often dependent on the patience, devotion, and foresight of individuals willing to navigate uncertainty. Each manuscript preserved, each secret transmitted, each esoteric insight carefully safeguarded is a subtle thread in the tapestry of human understanding, weaving together generations, cultures, and civilizations in a continuous, whispering dialogue. And so, as we linger in this space, we recognize the profound gift of those who protected hidden knowledge. Their quiet labor has allowed us to glimpse the contours of ideas long thought lost, to explore forbidden discoveries, mystical traditions, and suppressed truths with reverence, and to appreciate the delicate interplay between secrecy and revelation that has guided human understanding for centuries. These secret keepers, often unseen, remind us that knowledge is not only to be discovered but cherished, nurtured, and transmitted with care. In their legacy, we find both inspiration and a gentle reminder that the pursuit of understanding is as much about patience, devotion, and subtlety as it is about insight, imagination, and curiosity. Hidden within the folds of history, behind heavy doors, under layers of dust, or tucked away in the recesses of forgotten cities, lie the secret libraries, private collections, and clandestine archives that have preserved knowledge across centuries. These repositories are more than mere buildings or shelves. They're living monuments to human curiosity and perseverance, shelters for ideas that might have otherwise vanished into oblivion. Their walls contain whispers of conversations long silenced, footsteps of scholars long gone, and pages filled with wisdom deemed too dangerous, too radical, or too delicate to be shared openly. In these spaces, the past is not merely recorded. It is carefully nurtured, protected, and curated, waiting patiently for those who are ready to seek, to study, and to understand. Some of these hidden libraries were born out of necessity. In times of war, religious upheaval, or political persecution, entire collections of knowledge were at risk of destruction. It was in these moments that private collectors, scholars, and even ordinary citizens undertook extraordinary efforts to preserve texts, scrolls, and manuscripts. Books were smuggled across borders, hidden in walls or beneath floors, or stored in secret chambers behind false doors. Every rescued volume carried with it the potential to shape thought, to inspire discovery, or to illuminate the mysteries of the past. Each library, therefore, became more than a collection of objects. It became a lifeline between generations, a quiet rebellion against forgetfulness and the erasure of history. The allure of private collections is found not only in the treasures they hold, but also in their deliberate obscurity. Unlike public libraries, where the circulation of knowledge is structured and regulated, secret collections thrive in quiet intimacy, often accessible only to a select few. Wealthy patrons, devoted scholars, or secret societies meticulously curated these collections, preserving rare texts, forbidden manuscripts, and esoteric works with care and precision. Some libraries were designed to intimidate with scale and grandeur, while others were modest, almost invisible, their significance known only to those who possessed the key to their doors. In all cases, the purpose was the same: to protect and transmit knowledge, often at great personal risk. Hidden archives also served as laboratories of the mind, places where scholars could study, debate, and interpret without interference. In these quiet rooms, ideas were examined, compared, and expanded upon. Marginalia, annotations, and cross-references reveal the intense intellectual labor that went into understanding and preserving texts. Knowledge, in these environments, was not static. It was alive, discussed, questioned, and even altered subtly to ensure clarity, accuracy, or protection from misinterpretation. The meticulous attention paid to preservation and interpretation underscores the reverence with which these secret keepers approach their work, recognizing that even a small error could compromise centuries of accumulated wisdom. Across civilizations, hidden libraries reflect the diversity of human thought and the universality of the desire to protect it. In the Islamic Golden Age, private collections housed works of philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, and medicine that preserved the intellectual achievements of previous cultures. Monastic libraries in Europe safeguarded theological texts, classical literature, and scientific treatises through the Middle Ages. In Asia, secret archives maintained by scholars and monasteries preserve Buddhist, Taoist, and Confucian texts, alongside treatises on medicine, astronomy, and philosophy. Even in more modern times, private collectors and secret repositories have safeguarded rare manuscripts, political writings, and experimental research that might have been lost to censorship or neglect. Each hidden library, though unique in content and context, shares a common purpose: to serve as a sanctuary for knowledge, beyond the reach of the transient forces of politics, ideology, or disaster. The contents of these libraries are often astonishing in their range and depth. Some contain entire philosophical systems, meticulously recorded and cross-referenced. Others hold fragments of lost civilizations, surviving only in the form of annotated scrolls or fragmented codices. Scientific treatises, mystical texts, maps, and diagrams often exist alongside literary works, poetry, and personal correspondence, revealing the interconnectedness of human thought. The diversity of materials demonstrates a holistic vision of knowledge, one that does not separate the intellectual from the spiritual, the practical from the imaginative. In these hidden spaces, the boundaries between disciplines blur, and understanding becomes a layered, intricate process of discovery and reflection. Many hidden libraries were deliberately designed to challenge and guide the seeker. Books might be arranged in cryptic sequences, symbols subtly embedded in their covers, or annotations left in codes intelligible only to those with specialized knowledge. These features created layers of protection, ensuring that only careful and persistent minds could navigate the collection successfully. In a sense, the libraries themselves became teachers, guiding the visitor through the history, philosophy, and science encoded within their walls. This design reflects a profound respect for the responsibility of knowledge, to preserve it, to challenge those who seek it, and to reward patience, attention, and curiosity. The preservation of hidden libraries was not only an act of protection, but also of defiance. In times when regimes sought to suppress certain ideas, destroy texts, or control the flow of information, these secret repositories became acts of quiet rebellion. They resisted the erasure of thought, providing a safeguard for ideas that would eventually reemerge to inspire new generations. In this way, each library is a testament to the human spirit, a reminder that curiosity and reverence for knowledge can endure even in the face of adversity, and that the whispers of the past are never entirely silenced when someone is willing to protect them. Even today, the legacy of these hidden libraries endures. Scholars continue to discover previously unknown collections, manuscripts, and archives tucked away in monasteries, private estates, or forgotten vaults. Each find opens a window into the past, revealing connections between civilizations, ideas, and philosophies that were thought lost. The excitement lies not only in the contents themselves, but also in the continuity of human effort across time. The understanding that knowledge has survived through patient care, careful preservation, and the devotion of countless individuals who recognized its value and fragility. These secret libraries, with their silent shelves and hidden chambers, invite us to reflect on our own engagement with knowledge. They remind us that learning is not always immediate, that understanding may require patience, attention, and reverence. They also demonstrate that knowledge is a living legacy, one that persists when nurtured, protected, and treated with care. As we consider these hidden spaces, we are invited to listen to the whispers of the past, to imagine the hands that preserved fragile pages, the minds that studied them in secret, and the journeys of ideas across centuries that connect us quietly to those who came before. And so, as we linger among these secret libraries and private archives, we feel the profound presence of knowledge patiently preserved, waiting for minds attuned to its depth and complexity. These hidden spaces are more than repositories. They're bridges across time, linking past and present, curiosity and discovery, concealment and revelation. In their quiet endurance, they reveal the delicate and persistent human devotion to understanding and the extraordinary lengths to which individuals have gone to ensure that the whispers of forgotten truths continue to be heard, even when the world seemed determined to forget. Even when knowledge is hidden, suppressed, or carefully preserved in secret libraries, there comes a moment in history when it begins to resurface. Rediscovery is a quiet, almost magical process, often gradual, sometimes accidental, and always transformative. A forgotten manuscript may be unearthed in a dusty archive. A marginal note may hint at a lost principle, or a coded text may finally be deciphered after centuries of speculation. In these moments, suppressed knowledge does more than simply reemerge. It reshapes understanding, challenges established narratives, and invites humanity to reconsider what it thought it knew. There's an almost cinematic quality to these rediscoveries. They connect the past and present, revealing that the ideas of long-vanished thinkers can continue to influence, inspire, and illuminate. The process of rediscovery often begins with curiosity and patience. Scholars, historians, and seekers pore over neglected texts, obscure references, or forgotten collections. Sometimes it is a single detail, a symbol, a footnote, or an unusual phrasing that sparks a revelation. Other times, rediscovery comes as the culmination of years of research, meticulous cross-referencing, and subtle deduction. The thrill lies not only in the knowledge itself, but but in the sense that we are participating in a quiet dialogue across centuries, tracing the footsteps of those who preserved, transmitted, and at times concealed it. Each rediscovered text or idea is a bridge, connecting our present consciousness to minds long gone, offering insight into the persistence, creativity, and resilience of human thought. Many of the rediscoveries that reshaped history were once considered dangerous or forbidden. Scientific observations, philosophical treatises, and mystical texts, when recovered, often challenged dominant paradigms. For instance, manuscripts on heliocentric astronomy, early anatomy, or experimental alchemy, long hidden or dismissed, later became cornerstones of modern science and philosophy. Rediscovery does not merely restore knowledge. It reframes it, providing context and continuity that can redefine our understanding of human progress. In this sense, suppressed knowledge has a unique potency. It carries within it the tension of having been hidden, lending its eventual revelation a sense of urgency, profundity, and sometimes even defiance. Rediscovery also illustrates the delicate interplay between preservation and interpretation. A manuscript or text does not exist in isolation. It carries the biases, understandings, and contexts of those who created, copied, or safeguarded it. Modern readers bring new perspectives, analytical tools, and technologies that illuminate aspects of the text previously unnoticed. This layered process, where the past is filtered through both preservation and contemporary perception, creates a dynamic dialogue between generations. Rediscovered knowledge becomes more than historical artifact. It becomes a living conversation, connecting curiosity across time, revealing patterns, and offering insight into both human ingenuity and the fragility of memory. Some rediscoveries have had particularly dramatic consequences, altering the course of culture, science, and philosophy. The unearthing of ancient philosophical works, for example, transformed European thought during the Renaissance, reintroducing ideas that had been dormant for centuries. Similarly, the recovery of forgotten medical texts reshaped practices, offering insights into treatments, anatomy, and disease long thought lost. Even literary rediscoveries, such as fragments of epic poetry or obscure plays, have deepened our understanding of societies, values, and collective imagination. In each case, the rediscovered knowledge serves as a reminder that history is not static. It is alive, constantly influenced by what is remembered, what is revealed, and what is newly understood. There is a particular poetry in the rediscovery of knowledge once suppressed. The very act of finding it is steeped in tension. What was hidden for centuries suddenly surfaces, offering clarity while maintaining an aura of mystery. Rediscovery is not merely intellectual. It is emotional, spiritual, and imaginative. It evokes the wonder of a hidden path revealed, a puzzle partially solved, or a conversation long interrupted finally resumed. The thrill is amplified by the context of concealment. The knowledge carries with it the weight of past curiosity, suppression, and preservation, reminding us that discovery is often intertwined with patience, courage, and perseverance. Technology and modern scholarship have accelerated the rediscovery process, but the essence remains timeless. Digital archives, imaging techniques, and linguistic analysis allow scholars to access, reconstruct, and interpret texts that were once inaccessible or indecipherable. Yet even with these tools, the rediscovery of knowledge retains its human element. Intuition, insight, and interpretive skill remain essential. Rediscovery is as much about listening carefully to the echoes of the past as it is about applying analytical tools. It is a delicate balance between observation and imagination, precision and reflection, reason and curiosity. Rediscovery also demonstrates the resilience of ideas themselves. Even when hidden, censored, or fragmented, knowledge tends to endure, often in unexpected ways. Manuscripts copied imperfectly, oral traditions whispered quietly, or symbols encoded in art and architecture can carry ideas across centuries, ready to be uncovered when the time is right. This resilience speaks to the adaptability of knowledge and to the persistent human drive to understand, transmit, and preserve what is important. It reminds us that even in moments of apparent loss or destruction, curiosity and insight often survive, lying in wait for the right mind to notice and decode them. Ultimately, the rediscovery of suppressed knowledge reshapes not only our understanding of history, but our perception of human potential. It encourages humility, revealing that our grasp of the past is partial and layered, and that wisdom often exists in unexpected corners, waiting patiently for attention. Rediscovery teaches us that learning is a continuous process, that knowledge is never entirely static or lost, and that the act of seeking itself is a bridge across time. In every rediscovered manuscript, hidden idea, or recovered insight, there is a quiet affirmation of the continuity of human thought and the enduring power of curiosity. As we reflect on these rediscoveries, we sense the profound connection between preservation, suppression, and revelation. Each rediscovered idea carries the fingerprints of those who safeguarded it, the weight of the circumstances that concealed it, and the transformative potential that emerges when it is finally seen and understood. In this interplay, history becomes less a series of fixed events and more a living narrative, a delicate dance between concealment and illumination, patience and revelation, silence and understanding. And so, in contemplating the rediscovery of suppressed knowledge, we recognize a subtle pattern. That human curiosity, perseverance, and reverence for wisdom can endure across centuries, quietly bridging gaps left by suppression, loss, and neglect. These rediscoveries remind us that the pursuit of understanding is as much about listening to the past, tracing its echoes, and interpreting its fragments as it is about acquiring new information. They invite us to approach knowledge with patience, reflection, and an awareness of the delicate, enduring threads that connect generations of seekers. In this way, rediscovery becomes not merely an act of finding, but a meditation on continuity, resilience, and the enduring dialogue between the known and the hidden, the present and the past. The uncovering of suppressed knowledge has rarely been without consequence. Throughout history, the revelation of hidden truths has carried with it a weight both intellectual and social, sometimes transforming the understanding of the world, and other times provoking fear, suspicion, or outright hostility. Knowledge that challenges authority, established doctrine, or collective belief has always been dangerous. Those who dared to reveal, record, or share it often risked exile, imprisonment, or even death. Yet paradoxically, it is precisely this tension between revelation and danger that underscores the enduring fascination of suppressed knowledge, the delicate, almost magnetic interplay between curiosity and caution, illumination and peril. Controversy often follows the uncovering of ideas that were once hidden for a reason. In many instances, authorities have actively suppressed knowledge because it threatens social, religious, or political stability. Scientific discoveries that contradicted prevailing cosmologies, philosophical ideas that question moral or spiritual dogmas, or texts considered heretical were often hidden, burned, or censored. Yet, despite these efforts, fragments of the suppressed survived, waiting to re-emerge. When rediscovered, they could ignite debates, spark revolutions in thought, or provoke moral panic. There is a certain dramatic resonance in this process. Knowledge that slept quietly for centuries suddenly awakens, and the world is forced to confront ideas that it had been carefully avoiding. The dangers surrounding suppressed knowledge extend beyond personal risk to societal disruption. Some discoveries, once revealed, challenge deeply held beliefs, altering cultural or religious frameworks, questioning historical narratives, or even reshaping scientific paradigms. For example, manuscripts revealing alternative cosmologies or histories once considered heretical could destabilize existing structures of authority, forcing communities to reconcile the known with the previously hidden. Similarly, The exposure of medical, alchemical, or technological knowledge could shift power dynamics, granting advantage to those who understood it while threatening those invested in ignorance or dogma. Knowledge, in this sense, is both illuminating and destabilizing, capable of awakening wonder but also fear. Even the act of seeking hidden knowledge can be fraught with tension. Scholars, archivists, and explorers have often faced moral and ethical dilemmas as they engage with texts that were deliberately concealed. Should knowledge be shared freely? Or is there a responsibility to protect it until the world is ready? Could revelation cause harm, misunderstanding, or a misapplication? These questions are as old as the manuscripts themselves. They speak to a subtle understanding among secret keepers. Knowledge is not neutral. Its power to illuminate, to transform, or to disrupt demands careful consideration, and those who uncover it must navigate a landscape as delicate as it is profound. Historical examples illustrate the real dangers that accompanied the revelation of suppressed knowledge. In the early modern period, heretical texts, scientific treatises, and esoteric writings were sometimes seized and destroyed, and their authors persecuted. Philosophers, alchemists, and physicians faced trials or exile for daring to challenge orthodoxy, even when their intentions were purely intellectual. In other cases, rediscovered knowledge provoked social unrest, as once-hidden histories, practices, or ideas came into tension with prevailing norms. These episodes remind us that the journey of knowledge is rarely linear or purely intellectual. It is interwoven with the structures of power, belief, and societal expectation. Yet, controversy also fuels curiosity. The allure of suppressed knowledge often lies in its very inaccessibility, in the sense that it has been hidden or forbidden. There is a quiet thrill in discovering ideas that have survived centuries of neglect, censorship, or active suppression. Every rediscovered manuscript, every decoded symbol, carries with it the echo of secrecy, the tension of past conflicts, and the weight of potential revelation. The danger imbues knowledge with life. It is not merely content to be read or understood, but a force to be engaged with carefully, reverently, and thoughtfully. In this delicate balance, suppression and discovery coexist, creating a rhythm of anticipation, reflection, and cautious engagement. The consequences of uncovering suppressed knowledge are not always negative. Often, revelation acts as a catalyst for progress, inspiring new understanding, scientific advancement, or philosophical insight. Ideas once hidden from view can provoke shifts in perception, leading to breakthroughs that shape societies, cultures, and intellectual traditions. The very act of navigating controversy forces thinkers to develop resilience, discernment, and ethical awareness, qualities that deepen their engagement with knowledge and its implications. In this sense, danger is intertwined with growth, challenge with opportunity, and suppression with the eventual expansion of understanding. Suppressed knowledge also carries the burden of interpretation. Once uncovered, texts, manuscripts, or ideas must be read carefully, contextualized, and understood within both their historical framework and modern perspective. Misinterpretation can magnify danger, spreading confusion or inadvertently causing harm. The rediscovery of ancient or esoteric knowledge is therefore an act that demands patience, humility, and reflection. It is a dialogue across time, one in which the seeker must listen closely to the subtle traces of meaning left by those who preserved, encoded, or transmitted the knowledge in the first place. Only through careful engagement can suppressed truths be responsibly integrated into the broader tapestry of human understanding. Interestingly, controversy surrounding suppressed knowledge is often cyclical. Ideas that were once feared or forbidden may, after centuries, become celebrated, forming the foundation for new disciplines, philosophies, or technologies. Yet, the rediscovery process itself ensures that knowledge remains dynamic, evolving, and contextual. The shadow of danger, what was once suppressed, feared, or misunderstood, continues to shape interpretation and engagement, reminding us that knowledge is never entirely static. It exists in tension, a living interplay between revelation, understanding, and caution, demanding both curiosity and wisdom from those who engage with it. Even in contemporary times, uncovering suppressed knowledge carries subtle consequences. Digital archives, declassified documents, and newly discovered manuscripts offer access to information once hidden or restricted. Scholars, journalists, and explorers navigate ethical dilemmas as they interpret and disseminate this knowledge. Will it enlighten or provoke misinterpretation? Will it empower or unsettle communities? The questions may be less overtly dangerous than in centuries past, but the principle remains the same. Knowledge carries responsibility, and uncovering it requires discernment, patience, and humility. Ultimately, the dangers and controversies surrounding suppressed knowledge remind us of the profound power of ideas. Knowledge is rarely neutral, and its revelation can transform societies, challenge authority, and illuminate human potential. Yet, in the midst of risk and conflict, there is also a quiet beauty. The persistence of thought, the resilience of curiosity, and the human capacity to safeguard and transmit wisdom across generations. The tension between revelation and consequence, between illumination and danger, is what makes suppressed knowledge both thrilling and sacred. It teaches us that understanding is not merely intellectual. It is ethical, spiritual, and profoundly human. As we consider the risks, controversies, and consequences that have historically accompanied the uncovering of hidden truths, we also sense the resilience of knowledge itself. Ideas survive, persist, and reemerge, carried by careful custodians, secret libraries, or the quiet determination of seekers. Danger and controversy are inseparable from discovery, yet they do not diminish the value of knowledge. Rather, they highlight the delicate, patient, and courageous effort required to protect, preserve, and responsibly engage with it. In this understanding, suppressed knowledge becomes not merely a curiosity of the past, but a living testament to the enduring human pursuit of truth, insight, and wisdom. And so, as we linger on the edge of revelation and danger, we sense that the uncovering of suppressed knowledge is a journey into both light and shadow, curiosity and caution, illumination and consequence. It is a meditation on the fragility, resilience, and transformative potential of ideas, reminding us that knowledge, once hidden, is never truly silent. Its whispers persist, inviting us to listen carefully, to engage responsibly, and to navigate the delicate interplay between discovery, controversy, and understanding. In this quiet tension, we find both suspense and serenity, preparing us to continue our journey into the deeper mysteries that lie ahead. Throughout history, suppressed knowledge has often intertwined with myth and folklore, creating layers of meaning that blur the line between fact and imagination. Legends passed down through generations frequently carry echoes of forgotten truths, encoding insights in narrative, symbol, or allegory. What seems fanciful can conceal lessons about the natural world, human behavior, or hidden philosophies, preserving wisdom when texts or formal records were lost. Tales of hidden cities, secret treasures, or wise sages serve as vessels for understanding, guiding listeners toward reflection and careful curiosity. Across cultures, recurring motifs suggest that powerful truths were often disguised in story to endure. The hero who uncovers hidden knowledge, the sage who guards forbidden wisdom, and enchanted objects that contain secrets appear from Asia to the Americas alike. Through these stories, knowledge survived in memory, imagination, and collective culture, demonstrating human ingenuity in safeguarding understanding. Myths also frame suppressed knowledge within moral and ethical dimensions, illustrating both the potential rewards of careful inquiry and the consequences of reckless exploration. The symbolic language of folklore allows wisdom to transcend its original context, transforming specific discoveries into universal lessons. Stories about magical herbs, hidden libraries, or celestial journeys encode scientific, philosophical, or spiritual insights in poetic form. Suppressed knowledge and myth feed one another. As hidden truths resurface, they inspire new stories, reinterpretations, and symbolic narratives, creating a continuum where imagination and insight are inseparable. Ultimately, myths and folklore act as bridges between the hidden and the revealed, the real and the symbolic. They preserve wisdom, nurture curiosity, and invite reflection, reminding us that the pursuit of understanding is both intellectual and imaginative. Even when knowledge is concealed, it survives in story, patiently waiting for perceptive minds to uncover it, inspiring quiet contemplation and a meditative engagement with the mysteries of the past. As we reflect on the journey of suppressed knowledge, hidden libraries, and rediscovered truths, a quiet pattern emerges, one that speaks to both history and the human spirit. Across centuries, cultures, and civilizations, curiosity has persisted, carefully nurtured by those who understood the delicate balance between revelation and caution. Knowledge, though sometimes concealed, endures in manuscripts, oral traditions, and the collective imagination. Its preservation reminds us that understanding is not linear, but unfolds gradually, in rhythms that connect past, present, and future. The stories of monks, scholars, explorers, and secret keepers reveal that knowledge is more than information. It is a living force, fragile yet enduring, requiring patience, respect, and responsibility. The act of rediscovery carries its own lessons. Curiosity must be tempered with reflection, and insights shared thoughtfully. Myths, folklore, and allegories often held truths in symbolic form, reminding us that wisdom can reside in layers, waiting for those attuned to perceive it. Hidden knowledge also teaches humility. What was once lost, forbidden, or overlooked may reappear to reshape understanding, linking generations of seekers in an ongoing dialogue. The persistence of curiosity, the careful stewardship of insight, and the gentle tension between concealment and revelation create a quiet rhythm through history. In this rhythm, there is meditation. Understanding unfolds gradually, and wisdom requires patience to fully appreciate. Ultimately, suppressed and hidden knowledge invites reflection on the human quest for understanding. It encourages wonder, nurtures awe at ingenuity and perseverance, and highlights the beauty of careful engagement with insight. In contemplating these truths, we are reminded that discovery is a journey, not a destination, and that the quiet persistence of human curiosity can endure across time, patiently guiding the mind toward reflection, imagination, and gentle contemplation. As the journey through ancient maps and hidden knowledge comes to a gentle close, we are invited to linger in the quiet spaces where curiosity meets imagination. These maps, drawn by hands guided by wonder, were never just tools for navigation. They were gateways into the unknown, reflecting the human desire to explore, understand, and dream. Each line, each symbol, and each coastline carries a trace of someone's quiet reflection, a whisper of journeys taken and mysteries imagined. We drift softly through centuries, picturing scholars by candlelight, tracing routes, and pondering lands yet unseen. Even as modern tools reveal the world with precise clarity, the allure of these ancient charts remains, drawing us into contemplation. There's a subtle rhythm in their creation, a calmness in knowing that exploration was as much about the mind and heart as it was about geography. The anomalies and unexplained details in these maps invite gentle wonder, a reminder that some mysteries are meant to be savored rather than solved. As night deepens, we float among forgotten islands, phantom coastlines, and the silent seas of imagination. There is comfort in the unknown, beauty in curiosity, and peace in reflection. The legacy of explorers and cartographers lingers quietly, encouraging us to drift, dream, and rest. Their work reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge is also a meditative journey, where questions can soothe as much as answers. And so, we end this voyage not with conclusions, but with a serene awareness of the vast, mysterious world that stretches beyond our reach, a world that invites the mind to wander softly, to rest, and to sleep among the echoes of ancient discovery.